Hello, and welcome to Middle-earth Vision. I hope you're all doing well. I'm here to share with you the history of Tolkien's imagined world and drawing his characters and giving you the history and philosophical insights of Middle-earth. So this is the second of my Gandalf portrait illustration. I was meant to upload a video last week, but I was sidetracked as I was pretty busy. I'm a freelance graphic designer and illustrator by trade, and I had a commission to draw a dog last week, and also I'm designing a 36-page magazine which is ongoing. And also it was my daughter's birthday last week. She was 13. So I was busy arranging her birthday party, or parties I should say, over the weekend. So she had a real good weekend of it. So she's happy. That didn't give me enough time to sit down and start inking Gandalf until earlier this week. As before with the Professor Tolkien portrait, I thought I'd begin the video about 3/4 of the way through. I've sped up the process as well, as it would be a bit laborious for you guys to watch the process of dotting in real time. I mean, well, some of you might like it, but you don't really get to see the process and how far I get with regards to the shading and stuff. It would probably take a couple of hours. This is I think this is about an hour and a half condensed into about 17 minutes. So it would be an epic video for me to talk about Gandalf for an hour and a half. Well, I probably could, but I want to keep these videos relatively brief. As you can see, it's sped up, and you can see the progress of my shading. So here we are, Gandalf. Let's talk about him. If you're a Tolkien fan, we're all pretty familiar with Gandalf's story points from The Hobbit and Lord of the Rings. So if you've watched the films and read the books and you want to have a bit of a deeper dive in the history of Gandalf, as I'm inking in, I will share his history. So here we go. So Gandalf, he also went by many names, including Olorin, Mithrandir and Thakron, and he's obviously one of the most beloved characters in Tolkien's Middle-earth universe. And he's a mayor, which is kind of like a powerful spirit or angelic being in Tolkien's universe. And he and I think 4 others were sent to Middle-earth by the Valar. And the Valar are godlike beings who helped create the world of Middle-earth. So the Valar sent the Mayor to help the peoples of Middle-earth to resist the power of the Dark Lord Sauron. This would be in the Third Age. There are 4 ages actually in the history of Middle-earth. And in the first age, there was the first Dark Lord, Morgoth, and his lieutenant and advisor was Sauron. And when Morgoth was defeated in the first age, Sauron went to ground and basically disappeared whilst the world was being set anew after the great battle with Morgoth. And the Valar sensed that he was starting to stir and come to power, and they were worried that he was going to become the new Morgoth, basically. So the Valar sent these powerful spirit angelic beings called the Maiar into Middle-earth to help the peoples of that world. Gandalf was a member of the Astari, which is a group of wizards, basically. No one really knew what the Maiar looked like prior to them coming to Middle-earth, but they all appeared as elderly men, and they were collectively known as wizards in the common tongue, but their true collective name is the Astari. So when the Valar sent the Astari to Middle-earth, they were not allowed to use their full strength or directly intervene in the affairs of Middle-earth. They had to work subtly, using their wisdom and influence to guide and inspire those around them to in their fight against evil, specifically Sauron. Here I'll read a passage from Unfinished Tales, which is a great book that came out after the Silmarillion, which expands a bit more on the world and thinkings of Middle-earth from Tolkien. So this is in the chapter called The Astari. So to quote, "Wizard is a translation of Quenya Istar, which is a Sindarin tongue of the elves, one of the members of an order, as they called it, claiming to possess and exhibiting eminent knowledge of history and the nature of the world." The translation, though suitable in its relation to wise and other ancient words of knowing, similar to that of Istar in Quenya, is not perhaps happy, since the Heron Istarion, or Order of the Wizards, was quite distinct from the wizards and magicians of later legend. They belonged solely to the Third Age, and then departed, and none save maybe Elrond, Círdan and Galadriel discovered of what kind they were or whence they came. So, yeah, they appeared in the form of old men, and their names were Saruman the White, Radagast the Brown, Alatar the Blue, and Polando the Blue, and the last to come was Gandalf the Grey. Here's another passage from Unfinished Tales. "The first to come was one of noble mien and bearing, with raven hair and a fair voice, and he was clad in white. Great skill he had in works of hand, and he was regarded by well nigh all, even by the Eldar, as the head of the order. Others there were also, 2 clad in sea blue and 1 in earthen brown, and last came one who seemed the least, less tall than the others, and in looks more aged, grey-haired and grey-clad, and leaning on a staff. But Círdan, from their first meeting at the Grey Havens, divined in him the greatest spirit and the wisest, and he welcomed him with reverence, and he gave to his keeping the third ring, Narya the Red. For, said he, great labours and perils lie before you, and lest your task prove too great and wearisome, take this ring for your aid and comfort. It was entrusted to me only to keep secret, and here upon the west shores it is idle. But I deem that in days ere long to come, it should be nobler hands than mine that may wield it, for the kindling of all hearts and courage. And the grey messenger took the ring and kept it ever secret. Yet the white messenger, who was skilled to uncover all secrets, after a time became aware of his gift and begrudged it. That's Saruman. And it was the beginning of the hidden ill will that he bore to Gandalf the Grey, which afterward became manifest. So Gandalf was reluctant originally to go to Middle-earth, claiming he was too weak and that he feared Sauron. But Manwë, the leader of the Valar, insisted that he went, saying that his weakness was all the more reason for him to go. So talk about facing your fears. When Gandalf first appeared in Middle-earth, he took the form of an old man, a wanderer of the lands. He became known as Mithrandir to the elves, meaning grey pilgrim. And to the men of the northern kingdoms of Middle-earth as Gandalf, which was his most well-known name to the peoples of Middle-earth. So during this time he both absorbed the elves' knowledge and imparted his teachings to them in return. Unfinished Tales gives a lovely description of Gandalf's personality, which I shall read here. Warm and eager was his spirit, and it was enhanced by the ring Narya, for he was the enemy of Sauron, opposing the fire that devours and wastes with the fire that kindles and succours in wainhope and distress. But his joy and his swift wrath were veiled in garments of grey as ash, so only those that knew him well glimpsed the flame that was within. Merry he could be, and kindly to the young and simple, yet quick at times to sharp speech, and often rebuking of folly. But he was not proud, and sought neither power nor praise. Mostly he journeyed tirelessly on foot, leaning on a staff, and so he was called among men of the north Gandalf, the elf of the wand. For they deemed him, though in error, to be of elven kind, since he would at times work wonders among them, lovingly especially the beauty of fire, and yet such marvels he wrought, mostly for mirth and delight, and desired not that any should hold him in awe, or take his counsels out of fear. Yet it is said that in the ending of the tasks for which he came, he suffered greatly, and was slain, and being sent back from death for a brief while, was clothed then in white, and became a radiant flame, yet veiled still, save in great need. So Gandalf became more prominent in the third age of the year 1100, as the Astari and the elves were struck by a troubling thought. There was a vile presence that was rumoured to be lurking in the darkest depths of Mirkwood, and Gandalf began to suspect that the Dark Lord Sauron himself might have returned back to the land. And he couldn't really ignore his suspicions any longer, so he journeyed to the fortress of Dol Guldur in Third Age 2063, seeking to uncover the truth that lay hidden within. But Sauron had fled upon his arrival, and Gandalf was left with an empty fortress and a deepening sense of foreboding. And so, upon realising the gravity of the situation, Galadriel convened the White Council, an assembly of wise and powerful, and she hoped that Gandalf would lead it, but he declined the honour, preferring to wander freely and maintain his independence, basically. And Saruman took over that role, though Gandalf still kept a watchful eye on proceedings from afar. And it was during his travels that Gandalf chanced upon the hobbits who lived in the Shire, and so it was that Gandalf became something of a regular visitor, often stopping by to regale the locals with his dazzling fireworks and fantastical tales of dragons, goblins and priestesses. So yeah, and the rest is history, I guess. Yeah, there is obviously more to tell of Gandalf's fantastical tales, but overall, he was, Gandalf made a determination to do what's right and to fight against evil no matter the cost, which is a lesson often explored in philosophical discussions about Gandalf, which I'd like to touch on in a later video. But alas, yes, I need to keep this video under 20 minutes. So yeah. So yes, this Gandalf that I'm drawing, if you haven't seen the previous video where I'm sketching out Gandalf in pencil, yes, this is, I'm trying to draw the characters as closely as Tolkien's vision of all the characters that he came up with in the books. So this Gandalf will have a beard, but no moustache upon his upper lip, which is how Tolkien envisioned him. It was based on a picture postcard acquired by Tolkien. It was a postcard, and on it is an illustration of a sort of like a wizard character drawn by an artist called J. Magdalene. Yeah, if you haven't seen the video before this one, check it out, and yeah, as I explain in more detail about Tolkien's original vision for this character. So yeah, anyway, I hope you've enjoyed watching me inking Gandalf, and yeah, I guess I will do a third one on Gandalf, and give more of a backstory and history to him. So see you next time. Cheers. Bye.